So I think Carl pretty much told you that Stephanie is, she's a freelance writer. She lives in Dover, and she is the daughter of Stephen and Janet Greene, who were both huge presences in the, not only just a bookstore, but the publishing realm in Brattleboro. And she was a commentator on BPR for a long time. And she has 2 sons, and she's on the Lit Fest committee, which is how I know her anyway. Here's Stephanie.
Hi, thank you, Sandy, and thank you very much for having me, everybody. Let's see, Print Town, the book, which is one facet of the Brattleboro Words Project, is actually became a gleam in local eyes in 2016 when there was a presentation at the Historical Society by John, Marianne, and Steve Hooper of the Hooper Reformer dynasty. The Hoopers ran the Reformer for 50 years. And they did a presentation on their parents' press, the Stephen Day Press, which they launched in 1932, and it ran to 1942. Very innovative press that came up with the idea of really producing regional work, topics that were in New England by New Englanders, and it was very successful. So with the success of that presentation, a lot of people started thinking about producing a book about the printing and publishing history of Brattleboro. But where's the funding? So that was tabled for a bit, and the next year, there was an effort, a grant written by Lissa Weinman, William Edelglass, and Prudence Baird, among others, I think, to the National Endowment for the Humanities to locate, research, and map local literary sites. And they wanted to include overlooked sites and overlooked voices. And they would do a map and an audio tour that you could take by plugging into the website. So that's still ongoing. We're working hard on that. Sandy in particular is working very hard on that. But of course, since we're a book town, a lot of people wanted to do a book. So the Brattleboro Words Project is made up of 5 kind of partner organizations: the Brattleboro Literary Festival, Marlborough College, the Brattleboro Historical Society, let's see, I always forget one, Brooks Library, and Right Action. So people began to research and identify and began to find out more and more wonderful, interesting things about books in Brattleboro. And the group raised money from writing grants to having bake sales. And now we are at the point of, we've finished, the editing is done, which was very ably conducted by Michael Fleming, who's a local freelance editor, and it's being designed by Jim Brisson, also a local freelance designer. We're looking at printers now and have kind of narrowed it down to 3 contenders. We're still trying to get them to give us a parity, so we're not comparing grapes with bamboo. We're comparing apples and apples. But that's really fun. It's being proofread and indexed, and it's going to be a beautiful all-color book. So I'm going to try to do something really snazzy here and share with you some images. And the first one is going to be Lucy Terry Prince, who was the first African-American published poet in this country. And she lived in Guilford. She had been, I'm still trying to find this. Okay, here we are. Now, can I share this? All right, come on, let's get up. All right, now, is this working? Wait a minute, I gotta share here. Sorry, folks. Share screen, and we're gonna do a big one of this. I apologize for my Luddite. Do you see it now?
No.
And you can see it?
No.
No. Marty, do you have to do the share factor?
No, I don't. It's all right, Mara. It's on her part. Thank you.
Okay, so are we up yet?
Yes.
You see it. Okay. This is a painting, a later painting of Lucy Terry Prince. She was born in around 1724 in West Africa and kidnapped, brought here as a slave. She worked for a family in Deerfield, Mass, and wrote the first African-American published poem called Bar's Fight about a native raid on Deerfield. The other amazing thing she did was when her family moved to Guilford and bought land and started a farm, they were harassed by one neighbor relentlessly, and crops were burned and all kinds of things happened. They appealed to higher and higher courts until Lucy Prince went to Montpelier and argued before the highest court in Vermont, which was then called the Governor's Council, looking for some kind of reparations for their destroyed crops and kind of a restraining order on these nut job neighbors. She prevailed, but the decision really didn't have such great teeth. So eventually she moved to Sunderland, but that's Lucy Terry Prince. Also, okay, wait. Now we're gonna share another thing here. We also have one of my favorites here. Whoops, why is that closed? Okay, sorry. And I'm looking for the infamous picture of, oh dear, sorry, of Royal Tyler, who is, of course, the, is that him? Yes, here we are. No, sorry. No, Royal. Okay, anyway, Royal Tyler was the first American playwright to have a professionally produced play in New York City. It was called The Contrast. It was very witty. He also wrote many verses and was a general wit and served on the Vermont Supreme Court. His wife, Mary Palmer Tyler, wrote a book called The Maternal Physician, which in 1811, which was kind of the Dr. Spock of her day. It was a bestseller and you know, a very popular. And here's Royal here. Do you see him? No? I'm hoping. Wait, are we sharing here? Golly. All right, share screen, sorry. No, it's not coming out. I don't know why. All right, well, Royal Tyler. So then Brattleboro is beginning to become a print town. And one of the people who put it on the map was a gentleman named William Fessenden. And he was an extremely lucky, extremely successful entrepreneur. He had a paper mill and a publishing house and lots of printing establishments and several bookstores. He got the rights to Noah Webster's Speller. Spellers were very popular in that era, which is the late 1700s, and he just cleaned up. So that's that. People wonder why Brattleboro, and I think one word covers it, and that is geography. Being right on the Connecticut River, flatboats were constantly traveling up and down the river with rags to make paper, paper to print books, books to be brought back down river to sell. It was a very good location that way. Later came the railroad, which we'll talk about a little bit later, and later still Route 91. So it was a big, geography played a major part. So Wesselhoff Water Cure was founded in 1845, right where the fire station in downtown Brattleboro is now. It was very popular for about 7 years. A lot of big names came up here and discovered the area. The water was extremely fresh and the cure seemed to work for people. One of the guests was Harriet Beecher Stowe. In 1846, she gave birth to her 5th child in 7 years, and as a result was partially paralyzed. Her friends raised money to send her to the water cure. She came up, and there are a series of letters from her husband, who was taking care of 5 kids, including a newborn, saying, "Okay, sweetheart, when are you coming home?" And she would write back and say, "Well, we've had a little bit of snow and it's kind of hard, and I really should stay here a little longer." She milked it she stayed for 9 months. And when she got back to Ohio, she started working on Uncle Tom's Cabin and published it 3 years later. So that's the Wesselhoff Water Cure. Many of you familiar with the Crowell Playground up at the corner of Green Street and Western Avenue. And that was named for George Crowell, who founded the Household magazine in 1868. It was, he had been a newspaperman in Brattleboro, working at the Vermont Record and Farmer, and had noticed there were lots of publications for men with farming information and let's see if I can find George Crowell and that sort of thing, but nothing for women. So I'm screen sharing. I'd like to screen share. So he founded the Household, and thus this became a nationally circulated magazine. Here is George Crowell. Can anybody see this? No? Oh dear. Okay.
No, we cannot.
Okay, I'm very sorry. I'm very sorry. Yikes. I had all this stuff ready to go here. New share. Oh, I see. Maybe I do it here. Okay. How about that? Did you see that? This is George Crowell, no?
No, we cannot.
Okay.
We see a line across, but not, we can't see any pictures.
All right. Well, I apologize for that. There you've got, well,
we've got it now.
We're back at, I'm sorry, we're back at Royal Tyler, inventor of the bouffant hairdo, obviously. Sorry. Okay. But whoops, okay, George Crowell, let's do this again and see. And here we have George Crowell. Do you see that?
Yes.
Yes. Yes, there's George Crowell. Okay, so he founded the household. He was an ardent prohibitionist, and he invited other people who had similarly revolutionary instincts to come and set up their magazines in Brattleboro. So it was a magazine town in the late 1800s, producing some very big, very nationally circulated magazines. All right, now, along the, okay, all right, share it now. As things developed, of course, there were lots of so-called tramp printers who came along and got work because it was a booming industrial center. One of them was a man named, let's see, share screen. One of them was a man named T.P. James. Are you seeing that? Are you seeing him?
We don't see that yet.
Okay, so I think there's something I have to, some interim step that I'm not doing. If I put it here, no, it won't work. Okay. All right, share now. How's this? Do you see T.P. James, this
Something's coming
thoughtful
up.
gentleman?
Yes, we see it
Okay.
now.
T.P. James was a scoundrel, and he claimed, now Charles Dickens was in the middle of writing The Mystery of Edwin Drood and died in 1870. T.P. James announced that he was channeling the spirit of Charles Dickens and finished The Mystery of Edwin Drood in 1873. It was published on Halloween. He claimed to be the spirit pen of Dickens. A lot of critics, and he also claimed to be illiterate until Dickens got hold of him. Some of his critics said that he was illiterate afterwards as well. But anyway, he started a newspaper and had a number of wives, some of whom he married, some of whom he did not. And he skipped town one night and just disappeared. But that's T.P. James. Okay. Kipling, whoops, here we go. As you know, Rudyard Kipling came to Brattleboro in about 1893. I'm trying to figure out how to do
We can
this.
see his home.
Oh, you can, good. So this was built, Nalaka was built in the shape of a ship, as many of you I'm sure have been in it. One interesting thing that when he designed it, he built the children's playroom upstairs right above his workroom. His wife, Carrie, was sort of a dragon, and she had the outer office and protected people, or protected Kipling from visitors, but he couldn't be protected from the rumpusing that came from upstairs. So he had the idea of insulating the floor of the playroom with seaweed, and it didn't work. That's why I guess we don't do it now. All right, so let me see, do I have a picture of, okay, Vermont print, here we go. I'm gonna, no. Vermont print was an important, come on, no. I can't seem to, was an important, very important printing company that was founded in 1910. Can you see this, the Vermont Printing Company team, outstanding in its field?
Yes.
Good. Okay, well, I don't offhand have the names of all these gentlemen except for the second from the right, and that is Bill Soucy, whom many of you, I'm sure, know. But Vermont Print was a big and successful company that was a powerhouse for 60, 70 years at least. And they were down in downtown Brattleboro, as was E.L. Hildreth Company, another, and you see that, I hope. I'm sorry I keep asking because I'm still making up what I'm doing here. This was, as you can, I hope you can see the building, Harmony Hall. This is right close to where Harmony parking lot is today. And of course, Harmony Hall was named that because of the spiritualist meetings that were held up there. But on the left-hand side of the picture, you can see the printing sign. Hildreth was a really fine printer, and he did work for, the company did work for Yale University Press. A bag arrived via train twice a day, traveling back and forth between Yale and Brattleboro. It was a very big deal, and they yearly produced books that were judged to be among the best printed, best produced books in the country. So then we have the book press, which is right under all of you, if I can move this. And you know, this is another example of how important transportation was, because you can see the book press is the long rectangle in the middle of your picture, and the dotted line is the railroad. And there was a railroad siding that came right up behind the book press and dropped off materials and picked up books and took them back down, down country. The book press produced many, many bestsellers, including some of the Harry Potter books, Jonathan Livingston Seagull, The Brethren, Your Erroneous Zones, and All the President's Men. And this is an interesting story. The Simon & Schuster was publishing All the President's Men, and they wanted a designer and printer out of the way of industrial spies and nosy journalists. Ironic, since it's written by nosy journalists. But anyway, so a courier arrived in Brattleboro at Irving Perkins Associates. Irving Perkins was the designer. And the courier had an attaché case handcuffed to his wrist. In it was the manuscript for All the President's Men. He stood over Perkins as Perkins designed the book. Then he put the design back into his attaché case and went over to the book press, where on one end of the building, it was the design, and on the far end, it was the printed and bound book. All done in secret, all done in Brattleboro. So there's a great deal of synergy throughout the 20th century. In the 1950s and 60s, the population, 10% of Brattleboro's population worked in printing and publishing and bookmaking. It was the highest percentage, among the highest percentages in the country involved in books and print. So I'll leave off there. I see that we're 12:57 here. Do you have any questions or comments or druthers here?
Thank you, Stephanie. Members, do you have questions? I have one. Do you know, I should know this, but is that printing press museum, I'll call it, that was on Main Street still exist down there?
Oh, that's a really sad story. The Fowler print shop was owned by a lady who I guess didn't really know what to do with it. I believe there have been numerous approaches to her to buy the contents, to you know, create a printing museum, and she always declined. And I believe the equipment was sold off. So that's the sad story of that.
Thank you. I know that the book press was, I think, Brown Industries and a major employer, and there was a fundraiser, stock investment, community investment to build that building or expand it and retain the company and jobs. So there was major economic development efforts with that company, and of course it got bought out by Quebecor.
Right. Right. It was caught really in the crosshairs of, you know, a lot of technological change and outsourcing and moving even out of the country. You know, you could send stuff to Hong Kong to get printed for, you know, peanuts. And, you know, it was tragic that, you know, so many skilled, very skilled workers suddenly found themselves redundant, I guess. That it was a tragedy. Yes.
Do we have members have other questions, Maura? We're running close for time.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention, you might want to be in touch with Greg Warden. He may have gotten at least the printing press out of Fowler's.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
I
Just
certainly
be in
will.
touch with Greg.
Okay. Easy to do. Yeah, he's great. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm not seeing other questions. Thank you very much for your presentation, Stephanie. A lot of work going in the project.
Yes. Well, we're let's see, we're looking to sell the book. We're doing 400 copies, looking to sell the book for under $40. We're still negotiating with various printers. And if you're interested, I guess you can talk to Sandy and she'll forward your emails to us, and we would be overjoyed to share the book with you. It's coming out in toward the end of October is the pub date.
Great.
A great holiday gift.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you for your time, and we'll call this meeting of Rotary to an end and talk to you next week. Thank you.